I'm supposed to be doing Gematria school right now, but there's some error and it's not letting me connect. I'm trying to see if I can figure it out.
Really?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Do you eat?
I just had a snack. I'll eat after I'm done with the class. I'm technically connected right now. It's recording. I had to do this silly method to make it work. I just had a snack. I'll eat after I'm done with the class. I'm technically connected right now. It's recording. I had to do this silly method to make it work. I just had a snack. I'll eat after I'm done with the class. I'm technically connected right now. It's recording. I had to do this silly method to make it work. I just had a snack. You can probably hear me now. I'm just not starting yet because there was a technical glitch with the live stream that was supposed to happen tonight on Patreon, so I had to go about it this awkward method to make it work. And the people in the Patreon, they can't join until 6:16, because when you post something on Patreon, you have to wait. So it's just now showing up for them. Join until. All right, so the people on Patreon should just now be able to join. I'm going to give them a couple minutes to get in here. This was supposed to start at 6 p.m., but due to a technical glitch, it got delayed. Welcome back, Natalie. Thank you for your patience. Hey, Brandon. Wait for a few more people to get in here before we get going. Again, apologies everyone for the delay. YouTube is not working properly tonight. Something is wrong. And recently I started a live stream by accident. And if I hadn't done that accident, I would have known how to connect this live stream tonight. So I had to go with that same accidental method to get this to work. Hello, Miss Mildred, Sardwin, Fermenti. Hopefully we get some more people in here. Hey, Jules. Well, Jules, we're all having technical difficulties tonight, so you're getting here just on time because we're just now getting started. I haven't even started the lesson yet. For some reason, it kept me locked out of the live stream. I couldn't get in. Well, hopefully that circle goes away, Sardwin. I hope your connection's good. I think something's wrong with the YouTube platform tonight. We're having another bad YouTube Tuesday here, it looks like. Yeah, I see that buffering. Richard Quinn's here promoting the Daily Dose of Gematria on Facebook. We're up to 30 people. Hopefully more people fill in. It says 35 now. So tonight, what I'd like to do, since this is the night where the dollar pledged members can join, I figure there's a lot of people who haven't been to Gematria school before. Quick update. On the Patreon page, if you scroll down here, I just posted this the other day. We now have all of the Gematria school lessons. Tonight's lesson number 8. We've done 7 so far already. Seems hard to believe. It seems like I just started the other week, but we've already done 7 weeks of Gematria school. Or I guess technically it's 6 weeks because 1 week we had that makeup lesson due to YouTube going down on a Tuesday night. But if you come down to this post, you will be able to watch each of the Gematria school lessons. And technically, you have to be an $11 member to see all of these links. But every last Tuesday of the month, you just have to be a $1 member. So you can join in those links if you're not at the $11 tier. And again, the last Tuesday of every month, that's the night we're going to open it to all people. On those nights, it's going to be more review. And now that we got the Gematria hotline, I'm thinking we can do more question and answer format. Whether you have a specific question about Gematria in general, or maybe something we haven't covered before that you want to know about, or something going on at that moment in history, or maybe even something from the past. All questions are going to be welcome on this night. Before I open it up for the Q&A, I thought what we should do is review some important numbers to know. A lot of people just want to know a handful of numbers they can really focus on and work with to wake people up to this knowledge, or even so they can pay attention themselves for repetitive patterns. And see if they took this down. When I was ready to go at 6 p.m., this was a top headline. It still is. Thank goodness. I mean, just look here in the top right corner. Officials release video from gender reveal party that ignited a 47,000-acre wildfire. And if you read this story, it happened on the 113th day of the year. And if you follow my work, we talk about 47 and 113 often. But where I'd like to start tonight before we open for the Q&A is, again, with the numbers to know. And let's start with what I would say is the most important number to know, and the number that you can have countless examples to work with when trying to share this knowledge with somebody, and that number is 47. So this is a post of mine from earlier this year. It's about the date the cornerstone of Washington, D.C. was laid. And that date was September 18th, 1793. That was a date with 137 numerology, and Washington, D.C. is 137, so is morals and dogma, so is government, so is president, so is White House. Special number there. But the one we want to focus on is the 47, and let me zoom this in so it's nice and big on the screen. September 18th, 1793 was a date with numerology of 47. This method's known as the life lesson number. And again, you get that by adding the month plus the day whole, so 9 plus 18, and then you take the year digit by digit, 1 plus 7 plus 9 plus 3, which is plus 20 more. So 9 plus 18 is 27, plus 20 more, 47. The cornerstone of Washington, D.C., laid on a date with 47 numerology. And here's a portrait of George Washington laying that cornerstone. You can see he has his Masonic apron on. Of course, the Masonic apron has the compass above the capital G set at 47 degrees. And as a reminder, that 47 degrees is a tribute to the 47th problem of Euclid about how to establish foundation for a structure. When you explain this code to your friends and family, it's probably best to just start off with explaining the alphabetic order, English ordinal or simple English gematria. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26. And then explaining the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. With these two ciphers, you can reveal a lot of important synchronicities. Because if you start with 4 ciphers, people are probably going, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's because you have 4 ciphers, you can, manipulate this code into getting whatever values you want, which isn't true, but trust me, you keep it to 2, you'll have a lot less questions to answer. So you can start with this example of 47 and how relevant it is to Freemasonry, and then you can clue them into how in the language of Gematria, all of these things sum to 47. DC, government, authority, president, White House, Republican, Whig, Democrat, foundation. Very relevant number. You can bring it forward to modern times. You can show them how the name Trump equals 47, why he was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night of the election for the presidency. You can talk about how the last president to take office, Barack Obama, did so at age 47. And there's so many other examples to work with the rituals in D.C. around the number 47. They come fast and furious. If anyone, raises an eyebrow and says, well, maybe all that's a coincidence, you can say, well, how about this? The date modern Freemasonry was established was June 24th, 17, which was also a date with 47 numerology. There's multiple paths to getting a date numerology. Another one is adding 6 plus 24 plus 17, which sums to 47. That was the date that modern Freemasonry was established, the foundation. So, if you're talking to somebody who's logical, they should start to say, okay, that's pretty interesting. Foundation 47. They have the 47th problem of Euclid about how to establish foundation. You got the cornerstone for DC, this land of 47 on a date with 47 numerology. You have the establishment of modern Freemasonry on a date with 47 numerology. Show you something else about this date, September 18th. September 18th, good way to find out information about a date, just type it in. you'll see that it's the 261st day of the year, leaving 104 days remaining. Now, the nation of this, or the birthday of this nation, is July 4th, 1776, right? And there's another numerology date path, 7 plus 4 plus 17 plus 76 equals 104. 104. We're focused on 47. Just along the way, I'm just going to throw some other tidbits at you. You know, British has that gematria of 104. Freemasonry, very British. Modern Freemasonry, very British. So, you know, what are the odds? What are the odds? And then you can just also point out the logical thing that the 4th day of the 7th month is the birthday of this nation, the foundation, 4-7 again. Also interesting, this 261 here, just using the alphabetic order, when you write out the United States of America, it equals 261. What are the odds that Washington, D.C. has this be the day they lay their cornerstone, the capital of the United States of America? So we're focused on the 47, right? In addition to teaching about the 47, we can show how the numbers around it are relevant. Because again, the numbers are a language. The numbers are a language to themselves. The problem is if you explain too many numbers at once, you might lose the person, you might confuse the person. So these optional details I'm throwing in, you know, use your discretion based on who you're talking to. If somebody's really catching on, you can supplement what you're already showing. If it's too much, you can come back to it later. So, 47 is the focus, but I just want to give you a few little other tidbits as we go along the way. This was called the Premier Grand Lodge of England, or just for short, Premier Grand Lodge. And notice, Premier Grand Lodge has that gematria of 99. 99, right? When we wrote out the United States of America, we saw that it summed to 99. This was a nation largely founded by Freemasons. And remember, the United States of America was the name that was adopted in history on September 9th. We'll come back to that. Actually, we'll just stick with it. I was thinking about throwing something else at you, but I don't want to get too cluttered here. So, the United States of America. It was the date September 9th, 1776, that this name was adopted. Right? 9-9. This is the nation that began with 13 colonies, with 13 stripes. In modern times, we get the 13 years of public school programming where they leave out the numerical code behind the English language. September 9th is also the day that leaves 113 days left in the year. 113. And United States does also have the gematria of 113, like Scottish, as in Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which George Washington was a member of. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which has the symbol, the compass, the square, surrounding the capital G with the compass set at 47 degrees. Now, I want you to think about this. Freemasonry means the pursuit of light, and Illuminati means in the light. The Bavarian Illuminati was established May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution. And from that date, which I should mention, May 1st, 1776 was a date with 99 numerology. From that date, with the 99 numerology, a society established with 13 families, to the naming of the United States of America on 9-9 was 132 days. 132 days. United States of America also has gematria of 132. So again, part of the reason to understand these other numerical values is to show how these ciphers work together and how the numbers aren't just coincidental, but they're all relevant and they've been used throughout history in repetition patterns, which all point back in one direction. 4 months and 9 days, as you'll recall, America sums to 49 in our base ciphers. So does Washington. So does Scottish, as in Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which didn't start in the United States of America. It came over here. So, there's actually one more thing I want to throw at you real quick. Freemasonry, modern Freemasonry, began in 1717. How many years is it from 1717 to 1776? 59 years later, correct? The United States of America, its birthday comes 59 years and days after the establishment of modern Freemasonry. And what's 59? In Hebrew and in English, Freemasonry sums to 59. And what's 59? It's the 17th prime number. Why would modern Freemasonry begin in 1717? That's part of the reason. The other reason is the word Mason is 17. And remember what the one rule is to become a Mason. Well, I guess there's more than one rule. Historically, you had to be a man. But the one thing that all men had to agree to join the society was to believe in God. You have to believe in a spiritual creator. And God has that gematria of 17. 17 is the 7th prime. G in the middle of the Freemason logo is the 7th letter, and also the first letter in God. Also the first letter in geometry, where it's instruments of geometry surrounding the G. And gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, means geometry in language. So 47, it's the theme. 47, this very special number to Freemasonry. In Freemasonry, some of their terminology is the mystical ascent. It's one of the things that you pursue as a Freemason. Building on your spiritual knowledge using the ancient mystery religions. The other week we watched the old Disney cartoon on sacred geometry. We learned about how sacred geometry is a language that intersects with the English language. Just for a little review, language has that gematria of 68. Mathematics has that gematria of 68. So does sacred geometry. That was day 6, where we covered the overlaps between sacred geometry and the English language. But anyway, in that Disney cartoon, which paid much tribute to Freemasonry in very subtle ways, of course, Walt Disney was a Freemason himself. One of the key shapes focused on was the 5-pointed star and also the pentagram. And remember, Freemasonry has the 5 points of fellowship. 5 points of fellowship. The mystical ascent focuses on the number 5. And just as a reminder, 5 has the gematria of 42, like Freemason. And we were talking about how Walt Disney, that cartoon, paid the subtle tribute to Freemasonry. Also how Manly P. Hall has revealed many of these secrets in his writings. So a very special number. And the first Masonic building was known as the Premier Grand Lodge. Notice the numbers of Premier. 42 like Freemason. 48 is also Freemason. Freemason's 48 in Hebrew and in English. Type Freemason again. Put Premier back up here. Notice the 84 and 105. Masonry. 84 and 105. Everything is named accordingly and cleverly thought out. geometry. Very important to Masonry, as is Gematria. So again, 47 is the key point, but just trying to give you guys some additional details to work with as we just move along with this symbolism. I should also point out, in case you forgot, the Freemason logo right here, where this is set at 47 degrees, that circle in Masonic terminology is known as the pole star. The pole star also has this Gematria 47. The circle at the top is the pole star. I should also point out that 4 and 7, the numbers making up 47, remember, the G is the 7th letter. 7 is the 4th prime number, and the divisors of 4 sum to 7. 1, 2, and 4. 1 plus 2 plus 4, 7. This entire code is in tribute to God. Elohim in Hebrew sums to 47. Another thing worth knowing about Washington, D.C. and 47 is, again, it was designed by a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason named L'Enfant from France, which has a long history of the Scottish Rite. France has the Gematria 47 like D.C. Again, all of these words summing to 47. D.C., government, authority, White House, president, Republican, Whig, Democrat, and more. More goes on that list. And another example you can show people about Whig and Republican, the Whig Party became the Republican Party under Abraham Lincoln, whose most well-remembered speech begins 77 years ago. You know, those things start to really stand out when you recognize the significance of the numbers and how they've been used historically, and then coming from the mouth of a president. And realize, if you are starting to teach this to your friends and family and you just want to keep it to the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, you can do that by explaining Republican, president, Whig, authority. If you want to show them the other half of the code, the reverse, that's where White House, government, Democrat, DC connect. But even without that, it's already a powerful example. These were the same things I taught about for 3 years without knowing the reverse side of the code. We've only been working with that for about 2 years now. And another interesting thing to show people, maybe once you got their feet wet with this knowledge, is you can reveal Jewish Gematria to them. You can talk about things like L'Enfant plan. That was the name of the layout of DC by this 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. In Jewish Gematria, the L'Enfant plan sums to 333. And the reason that matters is because, did I skip it? Oh, it's up here. The meaning of the compass in the Masonic symbolism, it means circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds, which has Gematria of 333. And you got to say, well, what are the odds of that? You know, 333 and 47. Another example of this in history is November 29th, 1947. November 29th is the 333rd day of the year, 333. That is the day the United Nations recognized Israel as a nation. The 333rd day of the year in the year 47. And, you know, you can go to Genesis 47, where Jacob dies at age 147, who becomes Israel. Also, the 47th problem of Euclid, written out as a phrase with the alphabetic order, sums to 333. That's what's symbolized in the Masonic compass, the 47th problem of Euclid. How interesting that it sums to 333. And Another note that's also related is a lot of people are aware of this number 666, the number of the beast. With the alphabetic order, circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds sums to 666. Using that same cipher, the alphabetic order, beast, sums to 47. And again, this motto is in tribute to the compass that's set at 47 degrees. Another thing that's interesting about that, that motto is that if you use the septenary cipher, the motto sums to 227. And what do we know about 227? Again, 22 divided by 7 gives you pi, which has to do with circles. And what's a compass for? For measuring circles. Again, just a little review from week 1. I think this is another example that a lot of people, they can't just dismiss it. They got to let it marinate on the mind to go, wow, that is really interesting. Again, if you write out 22 divided by 7 as words, it sums to 314. And 22 divided by 7 is the approximation of pi, 3.14. That's using the alphabetic order. And just using the alphabetic order, if you write out 360, the degrees in a circle, it sums to 227. Like 22 divided by 7 gives you the approximation of pi. So again, these are probably all little separate lessons to teach somebody to wake them up to this knowledge, but just as it builds, more and more that you can work with. And then again, you can just say to people, and I mean, if you say this to anybody, if they pay attention to news at all, they're not going to have to wait probably more than a few days at the most to go, wait a minute. Didn't somebody just tell me to look out for 47 in the news? Because it's just so frequent if you pay attention to the news, which I guess is something that most people don't do. Most people do not pay attention to the news. But if you have a friend out there who does, you say, just watch and see how often this number 47 shows up in the headlines. If you read an article, how much it shows up. I mean, if you scan all news media, you're going to see it at least once a day. At least. And what made me laugh was the day I learned reverse Gematria, because that was the day I realized that news also summed to 47. And it had been many years of me wondering, long before I even knew anything about Gematria, why 47 showed up so much in the news. That was actually something I just caught on to over the years, trying to figure out what was going on in the world. Why 47? What's so important about 47? Well, now we know. It's a symbolic number in mathematics. It's a very symbolic number to Freemasonry. And has a lot of real-world significance. So, the main point here was 47. I know we touched on a lot of other numbers, but the one I really want you to take away is 47. So many ways to teach people about it. September 11th. I think September 11th, another thing. A lot of people are, suspicious about September 11th. You can always bring up buildings 1 and 2. They were each 110 stories tall. Building 7... remember, the relationship was 7 and 47. Building 7 fell nearly 8 hours later in the day. It wasn't hit by a plane. And you can look it up. That building was 47 floors tall. Each floor, 47,000 square feet. And who was blamed for the events of that day? The man Osama bin Laden. And with the alphabetic order, his name is 110. Like how tall the buildings were, 1 and 2, 110 stories. With the reduction, his name's 47. Building 7, 47 floors tall. And you can educate people about 9/11. How 911 was made the National Emergency Dialing Code in 1968 on the 47th day of the year. And I'm sure you guys know about everything else with 1968 and 2001. So 47, Big number, a lot of examples. For the sports fan out there, you know, most Americans are into American football, the majority. You can say, look, this also explains why in the 47th season of the NFL was the first season that they had a Super Bowl. You know, not an accident. Freemasonry, or excuse me, American football is credited to Freemasonry and the Freemason Walter Camp. Freemasonry is fixated on 47. No wonder that their foundational Super Bowl in their 47th season. That was the 66-67 season. And of course, 66 is the 11th triangular number, like how there's 11 men on the football field. Also how 47 in numerology is 4 plus 7 is 11. So 47. I think it is the number to know. There's no number that gives you more real-world examples to work with and wake your friends and family up and have, you know, a lot of information to work with to show the relevance. And I guess I'll just throw one more thing. I bring this up a lot, but I think it's another example you can show people. You know, maybe you have a friend or family out there who's clued into who largely has control over the media. You know, this might not be the best example to show everybody. It could be offensive, or they might say you're anti-Semitic. But you can always bring this up. You can say, look, this code, it's largely Jewish. Masonry is invested in this code. A derogatory term for a non-Jew is a goy, short for goyim. And goy with the alphabetic order, G's the 7th letter, O's the 15th, Y's the 25th. Goy sums to 47. The date this was done was July 4th, 2016. Not only could that date be written 4/7, but in 2016 it was also a date with 47 numerology. 7 plus 4 plus 20 plus 16. And what happened on this day for Google to make this their tribute? The Juno probe landed on Jupiter. So, you know, I think it's, I think the mockery is pretty plain to see. And it's just one more example you can show of the significance of 47. So, of course, another example is the recent nomination of the Supreme Court Justice. The day he was confirmed, Neil McGill Gorsuch. As we've talked about, gavel and judge are the same in all 4 base ciphers. Probably a good way to transition into explaining the reverse ciphers. Very clear example here, how the numbers relate. And you can show how with Neil McGill Gorsuch, he was confirmed on April 7th, 4/7. You can show how his full name, Neil McGill Gorsuch, is there 2 L's in it? I believe there is. Neil McGill Gorsuch is 88, and he was the first Supreme Court Justice appointed by Trump, 88, of the Republican Party. You know, you can also show how he waited until July 9th to pick Brett Kavanaugh, who was another justice installed by the numbers. Very numerological process. So many examples to show with Kavanaugh, even beyond the 47. But you can explain to people that July 9th can also be written 9/7 like 97. April 7th, the day Gorsuch was confirmed, is the 97th day of the year, and the word supreme is 97, which is the 25th prime, bringing us back to judge and gavel, which have the gematria of 25. Also like Trump. So again, you can educate about 47. You can keep it there. You can show headlines like Judge Judy this year. Judge Judy earlier this year. She had to defend her $47 million salary, Judge Judy did. Big story here at the time. Judge Judy defending the $47 million paycheck. So again, that's funny that that shows up. But again, 47, there's just so many opportunities out there to wake your friends and family up to the number. Of course, after 47, the next easiest number to wake your friends and family up to is 33. 33. You can explain to people that Masonry, and look, you can just do it with one cipher when it comes to 33. You can do it with the alphabetic order and the rules of numerology. You can explain why 33 is important to Masonry. Masonry's 33, secrecy's 33, orders 33, federal's 33. The federal headquarters is named after the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason George Washington. You can say what it all comes back to is Kundalini and how spiritual ascension happens up the 33 bones of the human vertebrae. People's 33, persons 33. And you can then say, look at the Masonic headquarters in Washington, D.C. Why else would they have 33 pillars on the outside, each 33 feet tall? And from there, you can expand into the alphabetic order, and you can show them how Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is 137, the 33rd prime. And then you can tell them about the statue of Albert Pike with his text, Morals and Dogma. Morals and Dogma, 137. Again, the 33rd prime. In this text, he says Masonry owes all thanks to Kabbalah, where in Hebrew, Kabbalah sums to 137. And again, always explain to your friends and family that that's where this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from. Kabbalah, the book of formation, it stated that God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. So, 33 factors into so many other things, and rather than bore you with what you probably already know, there's a plethora of examples there. 9/11 being a leading example. What went on in 1968 and what happened in 2001. So 3347. Of course, the other number, the other go-to number. And you just need the alphabetic order. When you write out simple, it sums to 74. When you write out English, it sums to 74. When you write out Gematria, it sums to 74. And when Derek built this calculator, I actually asked if he would name this cipher Simple English Gematria, because that's what its true name is. Derek created the name English Ordinal because it just uses the alphabetic order, which is fine. But there's something powerful to knowing that the cipher is called Simple English Gematria, and each word sums to 74. You know, again, what are the odds? And you can again connect to people. This is a Jewish practice, 74. This is a Masonic practice, 74. And again, that powerful example. If you've already taught them about 47, just shows them that 74 is the reflection. And then you can go back to the other way to write the date, July 4th, 7/4. So holiday is 74. Independence Day, when you use the alphabetic order and rules of numerology, is also 74. Again, just sticking to those two basic ciphers, you can reveal a lot. And it too is a number that shows up again and again in media. Not quite as much as 47, but it's one you see. And when you do teach about 47 and 74, be sure to incorporate the part about how this knowledge comes from Kabbalah, which is in tribute to God, and in Hebrew, where this code originates, the name Elohim sums to 47. And in Hebrew, you read from right to left, right? A lot of people in this nation are Christian. You can show them that the word Christian is 47. Codes in tribute to God. And then you can explain the example just using the alphabetic order. Again, how Jesus is 74. Messiah is 74. The story of Jesus is the gospel. Gospel 74. Jesus spoke in parables. 74. He was crucified on the cross. 74 at age 33. You can point out to people that the only state that sums to 74 is Oregon. 74, which happens to be the 33rd state. You can also point out that the English translation of Jesus is Joshua, which sums to 74. So this set of numbers, you know, it's just a small group. You give a clear presentation on them. You Can probably open a lot of eyes. And, you know, there's a lot to expand on too, just outside of that. What I would also bring up is that in Judaism, it's a common practice to write the name God as G, G's the 7th letter, hyphen D, D's the 4th letter. So G hyphen D is 7 hyphen 4, reading the letters as numbers. You know, again, what are the odds? Okay, so 33, 47, 74. If I were going to teach somebody, I'd probably teach them 47, then 74 with the examples we used. Maybe leaving out all the other juicier parts that I threw in there too. It might be too confusing at first. And then add in the component about 33. And again, this knowledge, it's best to share with people things that you already know that they're into. If somebody's really into sports, there's a world of examples you can show with sports. You know, it's not an accident the first basketball championship was in the year 47. And again, just, you know, if you forget examples, search my blog. Just type in a keyword and a number. You'll find probably, you know, a dozen or more posts on that topic to refresh your mind about things you can speak on. So 33, 47, 74. Really good numbers to know. Again, if you're in New York, every week I have a lot of callers from New York. An example that's sure to raise a few eyebrows is the 39 thing in New York. And remember, New York in our most pure cipher is 39. The abbreviation NY with the alphabetic order is 39. With the reverse alphabetic order, NYC is 39. I just noticed the other day that New York, comma, NY, like how you'd write it on an envelope, is also 39. And again, it goes beyond that. The World's Fair was in New York in 39. The United Nations there is 39 floors tall. If you're a sports person, you can show how every single New York Super Bowl won comes back to 39. 4 of those have been by the G-Men. The G-Men 39. It's the nickname of the Giants. So 39 is also a good number to know for other reasons. Masonry has the Gematria of 39, and consider the relevance of that. The majority of Masonry's secrets are based in the Old Testament, which is 39 books. You know, Masonry came over here and built their empire by the numbers. 39. Secrecy has that Gematria of 39. Another good number to know there, 39. Special one. 42. Definitely another number to know. And remember what's in the Freemason logo. We talked earlier about how Freemason sums to 42. The Freemason who spilled the beans on this code, the first author or Freemason I'm aware of to put this in text anywhere was Manly P. Hall, who revealed the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Manly P. Hall 42. The first Masonic Lodge was the Premier Grand Lodge 42. The Masonic symbol has instruments of mathematics in it. Math is 42. And again, a cipher that's directly related to the alphabetic order is where you multiply times 6. So the letter G is the 7th letter. When you multiply it times 6, it's also 42. Math's 42. And just another quick point about the G, in light of us talking about 33. Francis Bacon Gematria takes into account capital letters. So a capital G is 33. And just a reminder for how Francis Bacon Gematria works, it's based on lowercase letters and uppercase letters. So notice lowercase g is 7, just like ordinal Gematria. Lowercase a is 1, but capital A is 27. So pretty much what you do in Francis Bacon Gematria is just add plus 26 for each capital letter. And remember, if your capital letters aren't right, your Francis Bacon Gematria won't be right. You know, if you meant to write apple and you accidentally capitalize 2 P's, you're going to get a false value for the Francis Bacon value of apple. You got to make sure your capital letters are right. Last night on my sports decode, we had a guy phone in and say what a word equaled in Francis Bacon Gematria. I said, oh, wait a minute, you better check your capital letters. That's not right. And then he didn't want to admit on the phone that he was wrong, but I was like, come on, man. Got to have the capital letters right, otherwise the Francis Bacon value is false. So, anyway, just a little review there. But numbers to know: 33, 39, 42, 47, 74. Those are numbers we've talked about. Remember, every single number has meaning to it and has relationships with words that get used in riddles. But just to keep a few in mind that are important, those are some of them. Of course, another good one to wake your friends and family up to is 26, because you can explain to them why there are 26 letters in the alphabet. In Hebrew, the four-letter name of God sums to 26. The four-letter name of God sums to 26, the Tetragrammaton. And God creates mankind in the 26th verse of the Bible. And the name given to the first man is Adam, a name that happens to have this gematria of 26. And consider that man is made on the 6th day of creation. 6th has the gematria of 26. In Kabbalah, the belief is that God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. And letter sums to 26 as well. And if you've read the first chapter of my book, there's a whole lot more to the 26 riddle and all that's encoded. So if you haven't got that book, I highly recommend it. Just reading the first chapter, you'll get more than your money's worth, and you'll know so much about the number 26 that you'll probably be able to wake up almost anybody to this code. You know, it's a lot to dismiss as coincidence. And I would recommend that as another number to educate people about. But still, I'd always start with 47, just because it's such a prevalent number in terms of the information that crosses people's eyes and ears every single day. So we've covered 26, 33, 39, 42, 47, 74. We've already covered 6 numbers. For a 7th number, and we'll call it good right here, and then we'll open it up to your questions. Let's talk about 22, the master builder number. 22, the master builder. And when I first began this research, something that jumped out to me right away about that was that food summed to 22. Because you are what you eat. You know? You're as healthy as you eat and exercise. This made so much sense to me when I saw it. I said, well, that makes too much sense. Food is the master builder for us. Determines our health, how our mind works, how we feel as a people. You know, food controls a lot of things. And when I first saw that, I was like, I wonder what water equals. Because you need to stay hydrated. It's just as important. And lo and behold, water was also 22. I said, man, that just makes too much sense. If you're not hydrated, if you're not fed right, you're not going to be right. And beyond that, what's really interesting about Master Builder is when you write it out, it has this value of 147. Now, 147 is a special number directly related to 47. If you write out 47th, like the 47th problem of Euclid, which is about how to establish foundation for a structure, building, the Freemasons are builders. 47th equals 147. In that same cipher, so does Freemason. And again, the White House has 147 windows on it, not by accident. U.S. President is 147. President of the United States is 147. The Freemasons traditionally builders. By the way, if you're wondering why window, notice window sums to 74. like George Washington. So anyway, Master Builder has this gematria of 147. And 22 is the Master Builder number. Look at what happens when you write out 22. 22 has this gematria of 42. Also 39, which connects to Masonry. And notice the 165 and 78. Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite, has their headquarters in D.C. Scottish Rite is also 165 and 78. Notice when you write out 22, it connects to 42 like we stated. When you write out 42, it sums to 74. Masonic. Masonic is also 43. So, you start to see how some of these numbers are interrelated. These mathematical relationships. And to bring it back to the Bible, which we also talked about, remember, the New Testament begins with Matthew. And it begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. The word math is in the name Matthew. The New Testament, new has the gematria 42, like New Testament. And it's the 42 generations to Jesus. Again, when you write out 42, it has the gematria of 74, like Jesus. Jesus Christ also has the gematria of 74. And who's Jesus? He's the Savior. Savior has this gematria of 42. The Savior that, if you're a Christian, you believe died for your sins. Sin has the gematria of 42. If you go back in history, there's the 42 laws of Ma'at, which begins with the first law, I will not sin. So, numbers we covered tonight, and I hope you took notes. You can always watch this again. 22, 33, 39, 42, 47, 74. And there's a lot of ways to explain the significance of these numbers and how they come together. If you got somebody who's you're teaching and they start saying, well, what about these other values? There's all sorts of things you can point about all these values. Like sin's 21, so is Bible. Not by accident. Bible also has the 33 connection. A lot you can explain about each number, and the more you work with the code and you take notes, you'll start to see how all of the numbers fill out and support each other and have rhyme and reason to them, beyond just being what might seem arbitrary when you first start. So, that said, number introduction, some numbers to know. Again, one more time, I hope you took the notes. We went over 22, 33, 39, 42, 47, 74. And there's definitely more numbers to know, but just with that set, you can recognize a lot of patterns and hopefully wake up a lot of minds around you. Because that's the whole goal. That's my whole hope here doing this Gematria School. Helping educate you so that you can talk to people with confidence and give them examples and know how to show the relevance of the code. So that said, what I want to do is make sure we're connected here. Let me make sure the call board's up. And I want to open up on the Gematria hotline. The number is 509-731-0567. I'm going to switch over here to the chat. And, oh no, there's a... Why is that? Oh, shoot, I forgot to turn off the ads. I apologize, you guys. I always mean to turn off the ads when I do these live streams. I hope these ads aren't interrupting your lesson. That's not supposed to happen. My fault, you guys. All right, we got a caller here. Let me get you connected so everybody can hear you.
Hi, Zach.
Hello, thank you for calling. How are you?
I'm great. This is Kathy from Michigan. I wanted to first say great radio show. And what a difference when you have a good interviewer that actually cares and listens versus your other one with no more news. Secondly, I really think we need to get this book published because a lot of us out there, even though we understand it, we don't have the memory skills that you do. And if we have something that we can, without a computer with us, if we have a book that we can pull out and highlight, or like you said, show the parts to the person that would wake them up, like some of people it will be sport. And also, in time for in April, when we're out there in the streets, it would be great if everybody could just pull out their book when someone has a question, because we may not be fully versed, but we can know where to look in the book. So I really think it's important that we get it in a paperback. Also, I wanted to say, just from my experience, that I was a debater in high school and had full scholarships everywhere for college to go debate. And I always wondered, well, my dad was a banker and I was a good debater. Why didn't, they recruit me? And yet my cousins who were in DeMolay and whatever, the Rainbow Girls, they were just total puppets. Their dad was from the military and he just yelled at them all the time. And I think maybe some other physical abuse too. And they ended up being the ones that go into the FBI, the CIA, and the bigwig CEO of a corporation. And I'm like, they didn't even finish college. It's absolutely ridiculous. So they just take in people that they know that they can control, and I think that's why they get them into DeMolay. It's a stepping stone to the whole thing of, symbology, like the Greek system in college, and I just think that's another way that they indoctrinate and know who that they can trust and control with secrets at a very early age when they are out there knowing who their puppets are going to be.
I think that's a very great point that you bring up. And I think you're right on. And you saying banks reminds me of another great example with 47. Banks, the plural, has the Gematria 47. And from the establishment of the Federal Reserve to the opening of its 12 additional banks, bringing it to 13 total, was exactly 47 weeks later. Not by accident. So, very good point. And the 13 banks also reminds me of the 13 layers of bricks. It's another number we could have talked about, but it looks like there's a major buffering going on in the live stream, so I hope we're still connected. Are you still there, Kathy?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, something's really wrong with YouTube tonight.
Yeah. It kept making my screen blurry. That was very odd. That's never, ever happened to me before. On the radio show, you said that there's a day or a time where you take something from history as a lesson. When is it that you showcase that?
Oh, so every Monday through Friday, I'm doing a podcast. It's on here on Patreon.
Right.
And
so you just do it every day?
Yeah, we're doing it Monday through Friday every day. So
I meant picking something from the past.
Right, so I'm doing it every single day. I'm making that part of the presentation to also look at something from the past. So like, for example, today we looked at Harvey Milk. Yesterday we looked at why China joined the Korean War on the day they did.
Right. Okay, because I have a great subject that it just dawned on me now that I look at the players in it, and that it was all part of this contrived stream. So, and it's not important now to what's going on in the world, but if you ever have time to investigate, her name was Samantha Smith, and she was a schoolgirl from Manchester, Maine, who wrote a letter during the Cold War to, I can't even remember his name, it began with an A, over in Russia, and she ended up getting a letter back and going on all these talk shows, I think Johnny Carson and David Letterman, and then she ended up going over there to a camp with other kids for 2 weeks, and she was decided to be an ambassador for Goodwill, and I didn't realize it at the time, but she did come from a Jewish family, and I did not realize all of the traces in history with Russia, so I'm wondering if she could have even had some family ties or, you know, something like that to have gotten her involved. She went on to go into acting and was starring in a show with Robert Wagner called Lime Street. And then she died in a plane crash on her way home at a very small airport in Maine. So just something, if you ever have time, there's a lot of good information out there on her, and it might be a fun one to pull, maybe on her birth date or something like that. But it would be interesting for you to put the puzzle pieces together for me and see if it was one of those little PSYOP operations.
It already sounds like it was. And one more time, what was her name?
Samantha Smith.
That's what I thought. Okay, I will look into that. So
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and link you to some really good articles about her that have some of the basic background that you'll want to see.
Okay.
So I will send that to you in an email.
Happily.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. You have a great day. Oh. So the call line's open. I see right away that Samantha Smith died on a date with 118 numerology, 8 plus 25 plus 85, and death has that gematria of 118, number that we find often around the suspicious deaths. There's also a date with 137 numerology, the 33rd prime, and the name Smith has that gematria at 33. I'm sure there's a whole lot more to it. I'll do some more research on it. So, as for her other point, the caller about getting the book in print, I completely agree, and that's been a really frustrating thing for me. I thought it was going to be in print from the day I finished it. The other thing I was supposed to have done by now is have the electronic file out with the pages numbered. I am still working on that. I'm hoping I'll be done with it tomorrow. I'm also trying to put a few edits in there. And we got another caller. Tomorrow I should have an update on the book, and I'm working on the publishing thing. Hello, caller.
Hey, what's good, Zach?
What's good, man? What's your question tonight?
I was just more so wondering, not much of a question, but it was just more some knowledge I just came across, some really good examples with the presidencies throughout history.
Okay, I'm listening. Is this Chigozi?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I recognize your voice, but it didn't say that in the phone, so I didn't know. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. Yeah, so I was just I'm working on some material, some written material I want to put together some soon about like this the coding I've been seeing in Ohio with 27, 72, the Buckeye numbers, because it's just such a simple, good example. And while researching this, I was looking at the presidents from Ohio. There's 7 born there, but William Henry Harrison, the 9th president, was a resident there. And Ohio, their seal has a big sun in the back. So the sun's very important to Ohio. Buckeye equals 27, like sun. And, Ohio equals 29, 25. When I just saw this, it just blew me away. The 29th president is from Ohio, Warren G. Harding. The 27th president is from Ohio, William H. Taft. Ohio 29, Buckeye 27. The 25th president, William McKinley, is from Ohio, Ohio 25. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd president, is from Ohio, 23 is the 9th prime, sun equals 9. James A. Garfield, that's the 20th. Time equals 20. The 18th president, sun equals 18, Ulysses S. Grant, he's from there. And then the 9th prime, or not 9th prime, the 9th president, William Henry Harrison, the resident. And he's one of the shortest term. That was 31 days. And I noticed he died, it was 1 month, 27 days from his birthday. I have some notes on this. But it's just very interesting to see these things again and again. Like Woody Hayes, the head coach of OSU, he was also the head coach at Denison University, Miami University, both also in Ohio. He died at a span of 74 days from his birthday, from his 74th birthday, reflection 47, Ohio 47, killing 74. So it's always interesting how president equals 47, 52, Ohio equals 25, the reflection of 52 and 47, and they're saying that 8 out of the 44 presidents, or 45 including Trump now, are from there. But I guess it is 44 because there's only 44 people to be president.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's really crazy. That's why I can't wait to put all this together because there's so much. Even when I was doing all this, there was the assassination of Rutherford B. Hayes, or not him.
You still there, Jacozy?
Yeah, I'm still here. So President Garfield, he was assassinated, James A. Garfield, and and death equals 20. So the 20th president, James A. Garfield, was the one assassinated. He died September 19th, 1881, at the age of 49. That's a date with 109 numerology, the 29th prime, Ohio 29. That day left 103 days in the year. That's the 27th prime, Buckeye 27. And then he died 61 days from his upcoming 50th birthday, President Garfield. Ohio equals 61. This was also 8 weeks and 5 days. Assassinated in reverse full reduction equals 85. He was shot on July 2nd, 1881, and he died 79 days later. Murder equals 79. Of course, he's shot on July 2nd, Buckeye 72, 27. Their driver's license this year came out July 2nd. They do so much things by 72, 27. It's incredible. It's completely like clockwork. They never fail. And here he's getting shot on that day. And July 2nd, 1881, had a life lesson number of 27. And Buckeye also comes to 36. His assassin, Charles Guiteau, hanged on 30/6, 30th of June, 1882. And if you write out Charles J. Guiteau, it sums to 61, 92, and 160, just like how Ohio sums to 16, 29, and 61. 92 reflection of 29. And where Garfield was shot, the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station, that was opened July 2nd, 1872. So he was shot on its birthday. Already some Masonic thing they love to do. And it was again opened July 2nd. And 9 years later, sun equals 9. And 1881, 81 reflection of 18. And on 7/2, so they paired 27, 9, 18 when he's being shot. And Sun, Ohio, always parallel because that's their main logo. They love the sun. It's on their seal. So another one, 19th President of the United States, Rutherford B. Hayes, born in Delaware, Ohio. Delaware's at 33, Gematria. On October 4th, 1822. He died January 17th, 1893 at the age of 70. Ohio and Buckeye both have Gematria of 117. So that's another Ohio number. He died 106 days from his 70th birthday. Columbus equals 106 using the alphabetical order. 106 is also a lot like 16 because you drop the 0. Ohio sums to 16. And then the 9th president, William Henry Harrison, who, although he's born in Virginia, he was an Ohio resident. And I said earlier, he died 1 month, 27 days from his 68th birthday, 1270, 31st prime. Seeing as, there's some report 32, it's probably like a 31 span of 32 days, his term ended, but 31, 1270, 31st prime, dying 1 month, 27 days. So yeah, pretty good things I got so far. Just wanted to share right now what I have.
Very good, Chigozi. You could also add in that Ohio, with all that history, has the Gematria 47, and I think it has a lot of French history there too. France with the 47 thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Both for 47-29, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think like for anyone from Ohio who wants to share this, like I think just sharing people around them how Ohio's doing everything by 47-27 is very undeniable, and I think just with time, a lot of people will see.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Chigozi. Somebody keeps calling in from North Carolina. They really want to get through, so I'm gonna let the North Carolina caller switch in. Really appreciate the information. Great work. Chigozi's out there in Ohio, doing great work in his state. Keep it up, friend.
No problem. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, welcome. Take care.
Yep.
All right, so North Carolina really wants to get through. Unfortunately, it just went to disconnect. I didn't quite switch over there in time. Let me call them back. I know they want to speak.
Ahoy, ahoy.
Hello, you're on.
Oh, hey, Zach, man, it's from Minty Mountain.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, so your show is just totally cutting out for me all afternoon. Excuse me, all night. But, I made a couple of phone calls up to D.C. I made some calls to a hotel in Bethesda and in Anacostia to, like, figure out, like, you know, maybe setting up, like, buying out an entire, level of a hotel for your event.
That would be cool.
Well, now's definitely the time to, like, start, like, scheduling something like that because things fill up quickly at that time of year because there's a lot of, like, protests and, like, trade events that come in early in the spring like that. And it would be good to like, do, like a level like that because you can, get advertisement and you can, like, get discounted airfare for people because you can get travel from the hotel to the airport and stuff back and forth,
right?
And also into the city. And setting up outside of the city is a good idea because transport on, like, Metro or not Greyhound but the city bus is, like, really affordable.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Well, there's nothing in the city. There's, like, no way to actually stay in DC. So, like, being able to, like, set up outside of the city for, like, a weekend makes it accessible for people that are going to drive because, like, it just spreads the time out a little bit. And I mean, I personally obviously think it's a good idea, but that's just me.
I think it's a great idea too. That's why I need to get on setting the date. I'm gonna try to get that done here in the next week, and then that gives people time to plan. And I'll also do what you're doing: research a hotel where we could book it out. We just got to make sure enough people show up, because I know I can't afford to pay for a whole floor of hotels by myself. So,
well, it kind of depends on whether you want to be in Maryland or Virginia.
Sure.
And Virginia is going to give you like a little bit better of a deal because they've got a better tax rate on group parties.
Okay, that's good to know. I think cost is probably going to be important for people. So,
well, I before I was having a hard time seeing what was going on with the feed. There was a guy on there, and I don't remember his name, but he was talking about if we could get 50 people, that's a good number to get. And like if we can get to that place where we can get a certain number of people to commit, then we can like place a booking, and that'll give us a early discount too.
Okay, I'm going to look into how to get that achieved and how we can make that happen. That's a great idea. I appreciate you doing that research for us and throwing the idea out there. So I'm on it.
All right, man.
All right, friend. Keep up the good work. It means a lot. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. You have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, apologies to everyone about all the buffering tonight and the ads being on here. That wasn't supposed to happen either. I don't know what it is with YouTube tonight. Something's definitely wrong with their service. Saradwin, I see your question. Saradwin writes, I cannot call in, but can I ask, why are the prime numbers, etc., so important to this? Again, it's just, it's evident that the numbers with the prime relationships are related. USA, for example. USA has that gematria of 41. Using the alphabetic order. 41 is the 13th prime number. The 13th prime. And again, goes hand in hand. The nation began with 13 colonies, 13 stripes. I know you're not in the USA, but for people over here, that's an easy concept to grasp. So, prime number relationships, we see how they come up again and again. Again, we talked about earlier how modern Freemasonry began in the year 1717. Freemasonry 59, the 17th prime. From the establishment of modern Freemasonry to the establishment of the Masonic Nation, the United States of America, 59 years later. And let me take this call and then I'll go on with your question. Hello, caller.
Hey, Zach.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going well.
Awesome. So I just wanted to real quickly talk about marketing strategies and this plan that we have going on for a DC event.
Right.
So I just wanted to comment on that. So I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it's important to hit the streets and get footage and show the effect that this information has on the common person. I don't deny that. However, I think we could probably do that anyway. Like, you could probably do that in Seattle with another camera guy and get a lot done, whereas going to DC and mobilizing everyone would be a really it wouldn't be very cost effective. So one way that I think that it would be pretty effective to get the word out and also to utilize this network that we have, because obviously we have a lot of shooters, a lot of gunners, and a lot of people that are willing to spread the word and put themselves on the line, which is great, which is why I think we need to leverage the internet a little more, because it's clear that the internet has somewhat kind of become the ground. It's kind of become the street. So I think we'd be way quicker to move information on something like Twitter. Like, one idea, for instance, would be to compile a bunch of quick tweets of hard-hitting information. Like tonight, for example, you went through a bunch of, like, even just taking notes of everything you spoke on tonight would be great tweets to put out. But it kind of having a focal point, and it's kind of clear that you're kind of like the leader in this movement in a sense, you know. So, you know, if you were to put out tweets and have us all in sessions like this, like right now we have 41 people watching. If all 41 people were to retweet what you put out, then that's 41 people tweeting to however many followers they have. And surely this is really eye-catching information, and people will be receptive to it, because we'll probably be tweeting about sports and shit just happened on the news and things like that. So there's no doubt that it'll catch people's attention. So I think that's one good way to do it, by blasting via Twitter. And just, you know, right now you could be like, all right, I'm going to put this tweet up now. Everyone get on Twitter and retweet and whatnot. So things like that, even on Instagram, even though people have shorter attention spans on there. But Twitter is kind of like the highway. That's really where you can get information disseminated at an alarming rate, you know? And I forget, there's like this rule of like virality, and there's like TED Talks and shit about it. But if you like clear like 10% of like your audience, essentially like a snowball effect happens. And I'm sure you've experienced this before. I know you have with your previous work. So I think we could simulate that effect by utilizing that strategy that I just mentioned.
Sure, I think it's a great strategy. Another person brought it up recently, and I did a video on it saying that that would be a great way for us to just from our homes or wherever we are, get on point. You know, a big story happens in the news, people are talking about it on Twitter. If we go to where the traffic is for that subject, and we all start posting about Gematria and getting people to woke up to the code, and
absolutely,
yeah, I think it's a really good idea. So I'm all for doing it, but I still really like the idea of going to Washington D.C. because there's just so many examples there. There's just so many. I don't know if you heard the radio.
I agree, but we could point those out. We could point those out in the tweets, because if we go there and we start doing that on the streets, like, I'm in New York City, and I see these kind of movements often, you know, like I saw the Occupy movement, which was the biggest one, you know, in modern history, and I see the smaller ones too, where it's like the Chinese people that are trying to, you know, call out this slavery situation out in China, and then you'll see like a group of 30 passionate people really putting it all out, but, you know, a lot of the times, like, not only do they encounter problems with the authority, you know, they also get a lot of resistance. And it's not to say that like it won't be possible to get a lot of attention. It will. And that's kind of the problem, because once you start getting this kind of attention, this like unsanctioned attention, then it gets quelled. It gets quelled quickly. And I think we all know this. Like, how many times do we see it on the news? And I know a lot of the times it's contrived and it could be fake, and a lot of the times it's theater, absolutely. But we do know that there is a level of power that exists out there, a level of organization that I think is only getting stronger by the day. So we really need to be strategic as far as the way we move. Because I heard a saying, or I heard someone say once that America is the next Palestine. So think of all the technology that goes into Palestine and the way they track down these so-called terrorists in their homes in the middle of the night. They use this technology that utilizes this, our phones, the information that we share. Like, it's really sophisticated. And if you look at where all of the police departments in America get their technology and where a lot of them get trips to Israel to go train, it's all in Israel. It's all in Israel. It all comes back to Israel, and that's a huge point that we're really omitting. I mean, of course we recognize it, and I get that you kind of limit yourself from talking about the you-know-whos and the role of Israel in the grand scheme of things, because that's kind of what really gets shit shut down. But that's kind of where it all comes from, like the technology and even where it's going, even the direction that we're going. They're really at the top of the pyramid, when you really think about it. But I mean, the city of London is at the top of the pyramid. It's kind of it all plays in together, obviously. But I do think that we need to look at the role of AI and how that's going to shape things. And a caller called in the other day and talked about a game called Fallout. And I thought that was interesting because in Fallout, so the company is based in Bethesda, Maryland, right? And they got these games that are I think have a lot of predictive programming, especially as far as like the nuclear thing is concerned. And in one of the games, it takes place in DC, and I think it's Fallout 3. And at the very end of the game, you find out that the head of America, or like the president, or the person that's running America, is an AI, right? And I think that plays into where we're going. Like, I have no doubt that's the direction we're going. Like, I've seen very convincing theories. They're not theories, man. Like, there's people that give great insight, like a dude named Brendan O'Connell. Like, I've heard a lot of people call in and mention this guy to you, and you kind of brush him off, which is okay, because I don't think people have done a good job at presenting him or his work and what he's done and why he's significant and why his information is good. But basically, the dude is the only guy to take on Israel in the court, in an official court setting in Australia. So he's brought in like rabbis from Israel to basically prove that the Talmud and like the way the Jews run the whole thing is based on the scripture and his thing, and basically he's trying to defend himself that he's not racist. The accusation is that he's an anti-Semite for calling some politician a taxa, which is a Mossad case officer. And the dude got harassed. And he did the same thing that we're trying to do. He would go to demonstrations and talk about like the Talmud and the kind of shit that they would say. And this dude got harassed. Like his sister's gone. Like shit went down for him. He did time in Australian prison for this. He did 3 years. And he met a lot of interesting people, and he gathered a lot of interesting information that he talked about. Last time he did some awesome work, and that's kind of what furthered my interest in this. But then top that off with what I'm learning with you, and then I think we got like the whole picture kind of, So yeah, so we talked about the role of AI and how they're trying to move the third temple, or the UN basically. They're trying to move the UN to Israel, to Jerusalem. Where they're going with the third temple. So the third temple is basically going to be the new UN, and that's where the Antichrist or the Messiah or whatnot is going to rule out. It could be Kushner. I don't know. Maybe they already got the technology to make people AI, but O'Connell talks about human 2.0, which is basically, and there's a lot official documentaries about like work that they're doing in Israel for AI, and they've done a lot of work, and we're only getting like the crumbs right now, but like in the mainstream, but. Their work, they got a lot of shit in the vault that they're already like got full force, like supercomputers, man, like that quantum computing, like that they can compute a trillion of a brain, like of the brain's power in like a fraction of a second or something to that effect. So they're able to calculate, they're able to use these numbers. The whole thing with the numbers is, it gets complicating that, like with that in mind. You know what I mean? Like we're definitely onto it. There's no doubt that we're fucking onto it. But there is that factor, so I think we got to look at that. Just combining those two ideas, like that dude's work. I'd love to like point you in the right direction. Maybe, like I'll send you an email like a good one, especially the Human 2.0 thing. Dude, he does a lot of good work, especially on getting the word out there. He's the one that talks about like the viral thing, like getting it past a certain threshold, and he links to like great TED Talks and like people, like important people from like important technology companies talking about this shit, and like also about like AI and the power of all that. And people call in and talk about like the time is like ending, like we're running out of time, and it's true. Like the AI that's coming next year, like 5G that's coming next year, and I know we barely talked about it. That's a thing. That is a thing. Like that basically means AI, interconnectivity, like all this information is going to be picked up by computers like in a second, and channels like this might get shut down in a heartbeat. So I agree we are running out of time. But as far as like the world ending and shit, and like the nuclear holocaust in America and all that, I give that, honestly, like thinking about the numbers and shit, like, maybe like 2027 or something like that. Like let the AI thing play out, and then you also got to consider the smart cities programs that they're starting to fund. And if you look at the FEMA camps that they have set up across America, they're mainly like in the middle. So you got to think about like the narratives they're playing out with like the hurricanes and rising sea levels and all that. So they're building that up for sure. So I really do think they're gonna collapse America for sure. And you got to see how they're building up the rest of the world, like China, Israel. The collusion between China, Israel, India, the rest of the world is not to be ignored. We got to pay attention to that too. Like, and that's where Adam Green does good work. And I hate to bring the dude up because he is a fucking moron. There's no doubt about it. Dude's a moron. I can't believe, so disappointing. But I found out about Adam Green through Brendan O'Connell because they did like radio shows together. Brendan O'Connell also thinks he's a fucking chill moron. He probably is. Who knows? But he does talk a lot about the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is like the one. It's the New World Order. It's like them like building it up, but all of us ignoring it. So that all plays into AI, military technology, and how they're planning on running the show in the future. So just things to consider and things for everyone to think about. Because, I think we really do need to leverage each other's information and hone it so that we're all on the same page, because there is a collective conscience. We all can get on the same page and think the same, because that's how we're designed. Like, think of like animals in the wild, like birds in the sky flying south, like in those intricate patterns. We could do that as humans. That's what the Jews do. That's how they move, basically. They move in these patterns because they know how to do it. We know we're onto it. We're onto it. Everyone in this that's listening to this right now is a very intelligent, very aware person. There's no doubt about it. If they were able to discover this, we could all get on the same page. There's no doubt. So yeah, that's just some thoughts that I've had as I've been following.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, friend. You got a lot of thoughts, so thank you for calling in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I hope some of that's been useful, and I hope you could comment on it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it is. Thanks. You have a good night. Take care.
Yeah. You too. Bye-bye.
I know some people in the chat were saying that, maybe Washington, D.C. is not the place to go to. Maybe we have to go to some of these other places, too. And I completely agree. I mean, there's a lot of places to go to. Somebody said we should go to California with all the fire stuff going on right now. Hey, I'm all for it. It's just, where's the first place that we go to? Where's the first place that we organize and, essentially create a tutorial for how to make this happen? And I think Washington, D.C. is a really good place. It is the nation's capital. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of symbolism that's easy to educate around in regards to this topic. And for people who can't get there, I mean, they can still help out in other ways. They can share about the event through Twitter. So it's not, if you can't afford to go there, you don't have to go there. But I realize every week when I have my radio show, a lot of my callers are from the East Coast. He was from the East Coast. So a lot of people are in close proximity to D.C. I'm probably somebody who will have one of the biggest travel expenses coming across the nation, but if we plan it early enough, it's not that expensive. And like the caller said a little bit ago, we get this done early. We let people know about it. We get enough people to reserve a floor on a hotel. We can also get a big discount for our lodging. And I was envisioning being there for about a week. If you heard what I said in the radio show earlier, you know, one day we got ourselves wearing our What is 47 t-shirts. The next day we're wearing the What is 77 t-shirts. The next day we're wearing the What is 137 t-shirts. What is the 187? And maybe each day we go to a different spot in the city and educate about history there and what it has to do with that number, and put together a documentary over the course of the week and what that looks like, and hopefully inspire people to go out and do the same type of things in their community. Getting back to Saradwin's question about what's up with prime numbers, we were starting to explain the significance of prime numbers. We talked about 41 and 13 and 59 and 17. There's a lot of relevant prime number relationships that come up often. In addition to prime numbers, there's triangular numbers. And remember, what a triangular number is, that's something like 153. That's the 17th triangular number. And 153 is this well-recognized number from the Bible. And if you write out Holy Bible, it has that gematria of 153. The Bible even sums to 153. And the miraculous fish catch of 153 fish is a story that's about God, which has the gematria 17. Again, the other thing that we talked about recently, just something that's really cool, is Holy Bible has gematria of 45 in 2 of the 4 base ciphers. 9 letters, 45's the 9th triangular number. And to bring triangular numbers and prime numbers together, if you write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it sums to 197 in our most pierced cipher, which is the 45th prime number. And again, when you add 1 through 9, it equals 45. So we just see the riddles understanding the prime and triangular number relationships, and they show up often. Come back to 47, which we talked a lot about. Time equals 47. The tropics of this earth are 47 degrees apart. Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, which measure the solstices. 47 is the 15th prime number. The 15th letter is O, which is reminiscent of a circle, which is reminiscent of time. So 47, 15. And I see how blurry the screen is right now, you guys. I apologize. YouTube was just a major disappointment tonight. First, it would not let me get on the initial live stream, and then it wouldn't let me get in the second one I set up. So I had to get in the back alleyway. And the back alleyway is just opening up OBS and click Start Streaming Now. And you don't even do it through YouTube, but then it just loads up a live stream on your main channel. So that's how we ended up getting it to work tonight. But something's definitely wrong with the YouTube platform tonight. So I'm hoping that when this is over, it'll be a smooth file, not full of the buffering. And shouldn't have any commercials on it either, so that was another big problem there. Let me go to Indiana here phoning in. Maybe they got a gematria question. How are you, friend? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on. Hello?
Am I on here, Zach?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, sorry. This is Rich from Daily Dose of Gematria, and I just wanted to call in with a slight disagreement.
Oh, please.
On
although going to all the other places and going to the stadiums with, megaphones and the T-shirts, yes, that's all important. But, we got people, threatening to black us out. We got rigged games. We got scripted politics. We got riddles for 200 years. We have to bring, at least 50 or 100 people and go knock right on their door. Like, I'm ready to right now, man. This stuff makes me, upset. And I just want the fans to have a different mind frame, maybe a little bit.
So are you saying that by knocking on their door, that's why we go to D.C.?
Yes. And I picture you bringing a box full of evidence for them to answer. Whoever the highest person we can get to, that we not only do a protest, but we demand that we lay all your evidence out on the table, and they answer this. Every riddle, tell them to explain how you can call out Broncos versus Panthers. Tell them to explain how you can call out the NCAA tournament. And the list goes on and on, obviously. Show them the riddle with the Falcons and the Patriots.
Well, we're going to have to go to the NFL headquarters for that one. We're going to have to go there, not D.C. But D.C., we can ask them to explain things like all the history of the rigged elections and everything lining up so perfectly, and all these things like Donald Trump, the comb-over versus Comey by the numbers, and everything else we've uncovered. So,
yeah, absolutely, but they're all synced up anyway.
So we could bring up that. We could bring up how did Donald Trump know so perfectly to call out the NFL on September 23rd. We could do that.
Exactly. I mean, so like to me, the White House or whatever, whoever we could get to, we have to go straight to the top. I'm just not the type of person I'm not afraid to go knock on someone's door. I don't care who they are, man. And I just want the fans to have that mentality. They could all get off this Gematria class and go start posting invites to your YouTube channel or Daily Dose of Gematria everywhere. And if everyone done that, then everyone would be introduced to you, and then we could have way bigger numbers and look at this approach a little differently. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and that's what we have to inspire people to do, to want to go out and help the cause. So that's why I think if we get a big event scheduled and we show that people are actually going to go there on the ground, and we say, hey, look, if you can't afford to go there, that's okay. Here's ways you can help. You can go out and post on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram to raise awareness of this event. And if we do the right job of telling people like the things that they can let people know where to find it, if we get up some live stream channel set up or something like that, then they can know to share that everywhere so people can just tune in and see what it looks like. And
just start going viral and stuff,
That's what we got to do. We just got to create the landmark event that makes people care and get interested and inspires other people to go out and do the same thing in their own community. Because that's my thought, is that if we do it right in one place, maybe it'll make other people go, hey, I can do that too. And the next thing you know, they're doing it. So
absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, going there and getting the White House's attention first, I wouldn't even, that's what I'm looking at.
Well, if we have enough people making news or noise, then we can probably get the attention of the news. That's something I'm hoping we can do, even if it's just the local news. And
absolutely.
If we
synced up too, right?
Sure, and I can start making phone calls to politicians and see if any of them are willing to meet and be part of a film. Like, and we can be political about it too. We can start talking to Democrats and saying like, hey, we think we got some inside information on how the election was, lined up in the bag for Trump, and who knows, maybe there's somebody in the Congress out there who's willing to listen and talk about it and see what they know. So,
and don't forget to toss on your Trump Eagles Super Bowl prediction on top of that.
Sure, yeah.
Zach, I'm just planting seeds here, bro. I know you're the leader. I'm not sitting here trying to do it, but I am trying to help orchestrate things with you, and I got your back, and you just keep me posted, man.
All right, will do. Thanks, Rich.
You're welcome, brother.
All right, have a good night, man. Take care. Well, so far, there hasn't really been too many questions. Saradwin's had some questions in the chat, and I've just been trying to scan for other questions. Jeremy says, have you heard Grindal64 YouTube? He's a Californian, goes to protest and a lot of city council meetings. Got to look it up, Grindal64. I don't know if it's even helpful for me to put it up on the screen because I can see how blurry it is right now. And I don't know what to do about that. It wasn't that blurry earlier. I don't know if YouTube's sabotaging me tonight or if everybody's having trouble on the platform, but something is definitely off tonight. Well, that channel didn't come up there, Grindal64. Look some more. Jules has a question. She says, when is it most important to pay attention to the KV reduction ciphers? Where have you found it most used in coding of entertainment, media, politics, sports? Well, Jules, you know, for example, we were just talking about the history of Thanksgiving the other day. Let me clear out some ciphers here. Let's just get to our reduction cipher because this is where it's largely focused. If you write out Thanksgiving, it sums to 60. And we noticed how there were all of these things connecting to Thanksgiving that have this 96 connection, including the people from Plymouth setting out on September 6th. Well, Thanksgiving does sum to 96 when you take into account the exceptions. So you start to see why there's these other 96 in connections to the holiday. And to answer your question, Jules, the master numerology exceptions for the reduction cipher, they're really always important. They can factor into so many different things. And that's, again, why you want to have a good handle on how the ciphers work. And, you know, if you do the math in your head, like if you just do the word in reduction, Thanksgiving, you can quickly observe, you can say, okay, there's an S in the word, so if I use the exception for S, Thanksgiving 69, the reflection of 96, that date September 6th, again, if we just do the exception for the S, it's 69. September 6th can also be written 6/9, but then you can also observe that it has a K, which can be 11 in master numerology because it breaks down to 2 in this cipher. And there's a V, which is the 22nd letter, which also has the master numerology if you use the exception rule. So if you do the master numerology in your head, you can also just quickly see those values too, or you can just use the calculator and do it quickly. But the exceptions are always relevant. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a sports decode or a news decode or a historical decode. They're really always relevant. And it's just a matter of doing that extra homework, you know, to see what's relevant within the code. So I wouldn't say that it just applies to any one thing or just sometimes. It's really that it's always relevant. And again, you take the extra time to decode with the master numerology, you'll start to line up more things. So I hope that answered the question very well. Well enough. 223 is not the 13th Fibonacci. 233 is. 233. 233 is the 13th Fibonacci. And Gematria, in Jewish Gematria, sums to 233. That's that Fibonacci number. Also the 51st prime. $223 is the 48th prime number. Yeah, okay, you're on it. You're on it. You just had a typo. Did anybody else have any Gematria-related questions tonight? Can still go for about another 15 or 20 minutes. Oh, it's so blurry, it kills me. I don't know why it is this bad. I'm hoping that when we're done with this and it uploads, it clears up. I think it might just be blurry because the YouTube platform is struggling tonight. Andrew thinks 33 is the best number to get people to see. It is a number that comes up a lot too. It doesn't come up as much as 47, and 47's just got, you know, more very clear examples to show people, like we began with. Fermenti writes, using add, what is that? He's got vocabulary that I don't know. So Saradwin writes, what do you think comes first, the numbers or the plans? Do they have specific numbers they need to use for any reason and they fit the event around it? Does that make sense? Well, I think the numbers came first, and with the meaning of the numbers, that's how they've established the plans over time. I think the numerical meaning became the foundation. Well, I'm already set on the highest resolution. It wasn't blurry before. It became blurry during the live stream. It hasn't been this blurry the whole time. This is something going on with YouTube tonight. So it's not like I changed the setting to a lower resolution during the live stream. There's just something really wrong with YouTube tonight. And how can there still be ads? I disabled the monetization. I don't even understand that either. My, oh my. Well, now it looks like it's not blurry for me. It's YouTube tonight. Conspiracy writes, do all events with same date numerology connect to each other? No. No. But the numbers are used usually for the symbolism, but not all connecting. So Saradwin writes, so what do you think is dictating the numbers? What are they working to, is what I am trying to ascertain. Well, what's dictating the numbers is the original study of numerology, and that's the one thing. The masters of this code, I think they have a solid understanding of, you know, those hermetic principles that go with the numbers, the vibrations that they carry, the influence they have on people, and that knowledge seems to have been lost to most folks. I imagine who's ever at the top of this pyramid, the top shot caller, if you will, I imagine that person in the world still has that knowledge. So that's a missing piece of our understanding. Truly knowing what influence these numbers have on people and why they ultimately are used in the ritualistic way that they are. John Montoya writes, they're trying to ascertain heaven on earth for themselves, and at the same time, it seems like hell on earth for the masses. So, yeah, I would say that that is true. Yeah, absolutely. I see the comment in the chat. I find the less someone watches TV, the easier they are to wake up. And I agree. I agree. That's actually, I think that's also part of the reason I am the way I am. I watch less TV and movies than anyone I knew growing up. In fact, I didn't even really like watching TV. You know, I couldn't understand why other children wanted to watch cartoons and movies so much. I always wanted to go outside and play. You know, let's play a game. Let's go run around at the park. Let's go throw a ball outside. Let's go ride our bikes. So, I didn't understand everybody's fixation with the TV. I grew up in rainy Washington. We still played outside when it rained. As a kid, I thought it was fun to play video games. We were the last people to have a video game system, too, in town. I thought some video games on a rainy day was fun, but I could only sit there and do that for so long. I was ready to go outside and play some more. So, yeah, I think the TV is a real programming mechanism, and it has a major impact on the minds of the masses. Well, Jeremy, last year I made a call to my local Congress rep. You probably didn't see that video, but I still remember how the conversation went. The secretary picked up, or their office assistant, and I asked if I could speak to the congressperson, and they said I couldn't. And I said, is the congressperson in their office? I think I asked if I could stop by and talk to him. And they said, oh, I can't tell you where they are right now. And I said, does that mean you can't tell me where they are, or you don't know where they are right now? And then they went on to say that they actually didn't know where they were right then. I was like, so you don't know if they're in town, or if they're in Washington, D.C., or if they're at some event? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. And I was like, huh. So anyway, I think it's just all the same across the board with the government. It's like they're not even really there. Who knows what they're really doing? The Star Spangled Banner that came on every night, that was before my time. I've seen that before, and there was a lot of subliminal messages in that, the words they were putting on the screen. I'm sure you guys have seen that video before. If you haven't, look into that. The old Star Spangled Banner footage they'd put in, and what happens when those words blur and change. There's subliminal messages in there. Oh, I see what you're saying, Jeremy. Yeah, I could try with the real local offices, but I don't know what those people can do at the end of the day. It's the federal government's the monster that has to be dealt with. Yeah, it was the subliminal messages in that old footage of the Star Spangled Banner is like exactly what the movie They Live is about. Yeah, we can get political, see if we can get the Democrats to think it's some one-sided thing. Maybe they'll talk to us. Guess we could do it to the Republicans too. Get them both. The most important thing to accomplish with the DC trip to me is to inspire other people to care about this knowledge and want to get out and learn about it and share it with others, and also get people to go out and raise awareness in their community. That's my goal. And if we had 1,000,000 people, my goal would be I'd have a different goal if we had 1,000,000 people. It would be to end the federal government. So, one thing at a time, stepping stones. Yeah, could absolutely do a video in Seattle too. We could do videos in cities all over the nation. I'm honestly regretting that I didn't do more of that when I was living in Seattle. Now that I'm quite a drive from Seattle, so. Whoa. We sold a book. Scared me too. Blew up my eardrum. Yeah, sports is a way to wake up a lot of people, no doubt about it. And I always think about that at every sports venue. There's 50,000+ people at these football games. So I got to tell you, when I was driving for Uber and Lyft and I was taking people to baseball games, I mean, those were some of the most engaging conversations. People were really getting into teaching them about the baseball knowledge. So. Yeah, that would be cool. I could have just imagined that a group of people out in front of a sports stadium all holding up signs that saying, sports are rigged. Don't waste your money on rigged sports. That would get a lot of attention. You'd have all sorts of people coming up to you trying to talk trash, but then you could put them in their place. And that could make a really cool documentary too. And you know what? Washington, D.C. has professional sports teams. So while we're there, that could be something we did one of the days. They got basketball games. They got hockey games. That'll be during the playoffs. Washington Wizards, I don't know how they're doing this year, but they've been a pretty formidable team in recent years. Wouldn't be surprised if they're a playoff team. Yeah, we could make a printout pamphlet. That could be even Crystal right now, who's building the website. She's having to deal with some family stuff this week. But that might be just something to put on the website, just a cool little pamphlet that anybody can print out and share. Somebody said the other day, pamphlets, people will just crumple it up and throw it away. That is true with a lot of people. But if we just make it fun and some interesting information right there, it might open up a few eyes. So. Yeah, Gematria puzzle game. I'm just thinking about something that's popular that people do in cities. I believe it's called letterboxing. Letterboxing, something like that. It's online. You find clues, and then you find these clues for the city you're visiting, and then you follow the clues and you try to find the letterbox. And then when you do find the letterbox, you open it up, and there's like a little journal in there, and you just write, "Hey, my name's Zach, and I found the letterbox on June 10th or whatever." Maybe we could create a game like that in cities. We'd have to know the city well. And it'd be like Gematria letterboxing. You got to use the Gematria clues in the city to find the thing. But yeah, letterboxing has quite a big following. So there's all sorts of creative ways to reach people and get people interested in the research. Yeah, that's a good idea, Jeremy. Doing the decodes in Vegas where people are onto it. Might get shot down there by the mob. Saradwin says do a pamphlet outside the sports game with what the likely outcome might be. That would wake up some people. Yeah. Well, we're not all getting 2,800 Goyim slaves at the end. That's just the Jews who are supposed to get 2,800 Goyim slaves. Sorry, Baal. Sounds like you were having some trouble tonight. The YouTube platform has been really unstable this evening. I think they're just having a server-wide problem. I couldn't get this live stream to start. I tried it on multiple channels. And then finally I had to do it the old back alleyway. And it's been blurry all night, so... Geocaching is a term I am not familiar with. Geocaching. Oh, whoops. There are millions of geocaches hidden around the world. There are probably some near you right now. Oh, so this looks like letterboxing, but with more modern technology. Okay, this looks just like letterboxing. So yeah, similar type thing. Yeah, it's a new one for me too, geocaching, but it looks like a similar concept to the old letterbox. Huh, I'm wondering how I didn't know about the geocaching thing. Sounds like it's pretty popular. Guess I'm just out of the loop. Well, you know, something we could do if we had a gathering of people working together is we could just stand outside of a news station, too, in the D.C. area and, you know, bring what the attention we want right to them, you know, right to their doorstep. We could do a little What is 47 session right in front of their station, and we could do some research on their station. I'm sure local news station will have a ton of examples of 47 in their headlines, especially in the DC area. So yeah, for getting on other radio stations, when the invites come, I always say yes. I've never turned down an interview. So yeah, if we're planning events, we can get the permits. Interrogate the propagandists is right. Yeah. So, yeah, if we have it all planned out in advance, we can have everything that we need so that they can't shut us down. They can't throw us in jail. Got to look into how much those permits cost. Probably need one for each day. Well, as for searching out more shows to go on, I'll tell you what, I've reached out to a lot of people, and just a lot of people never even respond to me. And I don't know if it's because people just don't take the work seriously or if because they're compromised. I really thought in the time I was doing this that more people would catch on and be willing to share it and incorporate it in their own research. And that's been one of the biggest frustrations for me. So if Fermenti knows somebody, that'd be cool if we could get on there. Tracy Beans with the Z, huh? Was Tracy Beans the name mentioned earlier? She was doing the Get Out or something about DC. Was that the same name I saw earlier? Somebody was on the phone and I read that comment and I let it slip by. Was Tracy Beans the same person already doing something similar in DC? All right, Rich, that would be great. Interview across Canada. Tyler Thurston's in DC. He needs a wrench. Walk Away, that's what it was called. Okay, I'll look into Tracy Beans. Glad you enjoyed the show. Thank you. Freeman Fly. I think I've heard that name before. Freeman Fly. All right, so things I'll be checking out here once we get off the air. Have her just call this number. That's the easiest way. Grindle61. Okay, another channel to check out. Oh, Tracy Beans is a big Trump supporter, huh? That's funny. Yeah, the Free Your Mind conference, I'll have to see what date they set that up for this year in 2019. Free Your Mind conference. Do they have a date for that yet? It doesn't look like they've set the date yet. I'd like to, I would like to be able to go to that. If we plan the DC thing for the same time, it would make it pretty difficult to do both. It's too bad they don't have out the date yet. Yeah, I've been meaning to go to the Free Your Mind conference and speak. That is something I would like to do too, especially now that I have a book. I got to get that book in print though. That's a good idea. Show the stage shootings to gun rights organizations, but you know the thing is, like they're in on it. The NRA and Sandy Hook's located across the street from the second biggest gun lobby in the nation. All of these shootings boom gun sales and ammunition sales. So, you know, I'm not sure that the gun lobby is going to be our friend. They're definitely part of the equation of these hoax shootings because, again, it's a big sales thing. They make money off it, so... Is Noam Chomsky still on campus at MIT? That would be funny to go after Noam Chomsky. I got all his books too. Well, I'm quite certain Leon Font's responsible for the layout of DC. I'll look into Benjamin Banneker, though. Very well might have had a hand in it. Does anyone have any last questions tonight? Did anybody else want to call in with a question for Gematria? We had a lot of people call in, but not really anyone with a question. Just more people wanting to share thoughts, which is fine. But thought there might be some questions out there people wanted answered. If not, we can wrap it up. We're over the 2-hour mark. It's getting late on the East Coast. Yeah, Saradwin's right. He says the problem with Gematria is a lot of Christians are already brainwashed to just dismiss all things number related because they think it's evil. Yeah, it is very true. I think the hub of the information is at the oldest university in the world, which is at the Vatican, probably. And then I think I think some other hubs are the other Ivy League schools, like Oxford in the UK and other Ivy League schools over there in Europe and here in the US. So, seems that a lot of the people who are practitioners of this code have the Ivy League school connections. And I think the central hub for all of this information getting out is the Catholic Church. I think that was the central point of how it spread. Welcome, Amani. Thanks for being here always. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Yeah, I think they actively make decisions out of the Catholic Church, absolutely, and out of the universities. The formula breakdown of their magic? I don't know how to answer that question. I think we're exposing the formula. I think this code is the formula. I've heard that the beginning place of magic is with the motto, as above, so below. So... yeah. All right, you guys. I really appreciate you hanging around. I apologize again for how horrible the broadcast has been tonight. We got off to the slow start. Then it's been blurry and choppy, and there's ads in here. There's not supposed to be any ads. So I'm gonna, when this is done, I'm gonna download the video, assuming that it's all clear, and then I'll re-upload it. Because if you try to watch this video from the beginning, I had to just like sit there for 10 minutes before you guys could join the room. So there's just like 10 minutes of nothing at the beginning of this too, but I'll get it all fixed. I don't want anybody opening up the video and just sitting there waiting for 10 minutes for the communication to start. So, good night, everyone. You're all welcome. Thank you for being here and supporting. We'll have a better broadcast next week. At least I hope. It can't be this bad next week. Something's wrong with the platform tonight. So, take care, all. Be back tomorrow with the podcast. We got the radio show. Oh, by the way, on the radio show tomorrow, there's going to be a Freemason on at the beginning. And I'm not sure how interesting that interview is going to be, but we are having a Freemason on who wants to ask some questions and point out some things at the top of the hour. So that'll be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. That's not the Patreon podcast, but that'll be on TFR. So that's tomorrow night. All right, everybody, take care. Thank you for all the questions and observations and contributions. And yeah, I would like to work with Passio. I think he's got a lot of great information, and I've reached out to him a number of times. He's never gotten back to me, but I want to ask him why he doesn't ever go beyond the term dark occultist, because he always just blames on the dark occultists. It's like, can you be a little more specific about who these dark occultists are? But anyway, we'll leave it there, you guys. Thank you again. Be back tomorrow. Have a great evening or day, depending on where you are in the world. All right, take care, Truth Seeker.